We've now got Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 Episode 12. This episode is called In Dreams, and if you have not seen this episode as well as the entirety of Season 6 as of Episode 12, this review is going to contain full spoilers for this entire season as of right now. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, you don't want to get into spoiled for you, do not watch this review. So I went into this episode with a little bit more knowledge of an understanding of what's going to happen in this episode than I usually do with Fear the Walking Dead. Usually with Fear the Walking Dead, I never watch a trailer. With The Walking Dead, I watch a trailer every week. Whenever it drops, I watch that trailer. But Fear the Walking Dead, I've just never really been interested in watching the trailers before the episodes. All I've ever seen leading into the episodes is like a couple of stills. Maybe that was it. But for whatever reason, I just ended up watching the trailer for episode 12, and what I saw was the scene with June, Charlie, Old Man Morgan, and Grace talking. And when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck is this episode going to be? I figured it was going to be hallucination for Grace, imagining what the future is going to be like. I predicted that she was going to die in the episode because of that. I thought maybe there's a high chance that this is the musical episode. I remember last year after season 5 when everyone was so annoyed with Fear the Walking Dead, everyone was like saying fire the showrunners, fire the showrunners. I'm not thinking that anymore. But in season 5, and they announced that they were saying that for season 6, or they didn't, I don't think they actually said season 6, I think they just said in the future for Fear the Walking Dead we're planning on doing a musical episode. And everyone, for understandable reasons, including myself, was like, why the fuck are you going to do a musical episode? Now, the showrunners had come from a TV series called Once Upon a Time, and in that they did a musical episode. But the musical episode made perfect sense for that show, and I was wondering why it took them 6 seasons to do a musical episode. And me, I love musicals, and I would have been happy to see a musical, but it just doesn't work in the Walking Dead universe. I like if you put musical in the Walking Dead universe, like, is Morgan just gonna break out in song? I can't imagine Rick or Daryl, or imagine Negan right before he bashes Glenn's head in, he decides to sing a song. It just wouldn't work in the Walking Dead universe. And even though Fear is a spin-off, but it still takes place in the same universe. You have two characters that were or three characters, Sherry, that were in The Walking Dead that have moved over, so you can't really do a musical episode. But when I saw this was a hallucination episode, I thought, okay, this is probably their chance. And I wasn't excited, but I was like, let's see what they do. But of course, they don't do a musical episode. And what they do in this episode, I was actually quite blown away with. I said hallucinations, they're never really the strongest. And at first, I was thinking that up until they actually go out on their quest and leave the walls, I was thinking, this is quite slow. But when in the walls, we get to see a few characters, and we get to see them more aged up. One thing we get to see is you get to see June, she's with Charlie. I said that was in the trailer. You get to see Old Man Morgan, which is quite cool. I'd love to see him and Rick at that age sitting on a porch in Alexandria watching as their kids are playing, well, probably grandkids at that stage. I'd love to see something like that in the future. But you also get to see Dwight and Sherry are together again. They've got two kids. That was a nice little moment to see them two together. You get to see Daniel actually cutting hair. He's a barber again. He's cutting Strand's hair. They've got a kind of two old men kind of back and forth dynamic. That was quite cool to see as well. You get information that Alicia has actually gone back to the stadium. She's made her own community there. So that was quite a small little, they're really talking about the stadium a lot this season so far, but I liked hearing that mention as well. I kind of wanted them to say, oh yeah, she found her mother. That would have been an awesome line drop there. But Al has gone out looking. They said, Morgan said that she said to them she was going out looking for a story, but they all knew she was going out looking for someone that really lets us know CRM. So that was a quite little. I like to think all our characters in the future, even though we know that's not going to be the universe we're going to see them in, I can't imagine they're going to end up there. But I think what I think the end of the season is going to happen is the nukes are going to be set off. They're going to have to leave there. But it was nice to see them happy. I like to see the community, the way it was growing, all these big pink trees, pink flowers. They had a good stable. I really like the look of what had happened to the we're still calling it a dam. We don't have a name for it yet. But throughout the episode, it was quite weird because we do get to meet Grace's daughter as a 16-year-old. They have a lot of dialogue together, And then it was up to this point when they go on their journey, and all of a sudden stuff starts fading in and out. You start hearing Morgan, old man Morgan, just disappears. You start hearing younger Morgan talking to Grace, telling her to go all these different directions, and then it kind of jumps all over the place. And you come to the realization that, okay, this is a dream. We knew it was a dream, but this is the moment where Grace realizes it's a dream. And I like the way they done it. I was expecting it to be like this, but the whole kind of scene from this point onwards kind of reminded me of WandaVision, where you kind of had Jimmy Woo talking to Wanda, saying, "Wanda, what's happening to you? What's happening to you?" This whole kind of these whole scenes kind of reminded me a good bit of them. But you do get Grace trying to get back to the barn where her actual conscious body is. She's trying to get back to there, to get back to Morgan so she can wake up again. The journey with those two, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was good. It was good seeing Grace, where I've actually never really been a fan of Grace. I always thought, okay, she's Morgan's love interest, but I've never loved her character. But in fairness to her, we've never really got enough time for her character to be like fully developed. Fully, I never really got a good connection to her. Of course, she's been there since the start of season 5, but we haven't really got a lot of time where we kind of, even in this episode, they were trying to show us the relationship between Morgan and Grace, so they're showing clips of them together. But throughout the entirety of the episode, they're just showing two clips over and over again, because that's the only thing they have of the two of them together. Because Star season 6, they weren't together at all, so they don't really have a lot to show the love and the romantic relationship they have together. So they kind of have to keep showing the same scene over and over again for the two of them. But the reason, anyways, Grace has been unconscious throughout this entirety of the episode was because the End is the Beginning group has found them. They set off an explosion, knocking Grace unconscious because they're after Morgan for the keys had around his neck since episode 3. So they've been going after him. And it's quite intense because Morgan's saying, "Grace, please wake up. I need you to wake up," obviously, because she's unconscious and he needs to get out of there quickly. So great, Morgan has put her in a wheelbarrow. He has to move her around just to get her out of that situation because he knows they can't stay there. If they stay there, they're going to die. Leads to quite a big standoff when it keeps moving from location to location, keep putting barriers in the way. And it ends up where Morgan's got nothing he can do. There's 5 of them, 4 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them. And Morgan has nothing to do yet left, but he has to fight them. And it went to a moment where I'm confident in Morgan. I know he's very capable, but I don't know what they were capable of. But clearly they were not capable of anything because Morgan bet the crap out of 3 of them, and he kills 3 of them, and he kills one of them quite brutally. He actually literally throws the staff right through his mouth, and we get to see that, and it was brutal to actually watch that. But then the main guy, who actually I can't remember his name. I really have no idea what his name is. I tried to remember it. He looks like the guy from No Country for Old Men. I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but Morgan just stabs him in the shoulder, and then the guy runs off. Morgan just lets him go. I was quite surprised that Morgan didn't chase after him and try to finish him off. He just let him go, but then of course he is the main villain. Of course he has to get away. But throughout all this, Morgan is saying, "Grace, please wake up, please wake up." As this is happening in the dream world, Grace and her daughter, oh, I can't remember her name. I can't remember the daughter's name, but they were also fighting the kind of End of the Beginning group, and it doesn't end well for them. It ends to a point where Grace actually falls and dies in the dream world, and then Grace in our world stops breathing, and leads to quite a sad moment, and quite a moment where I actually thought Grace was dead, where Morgan starts giving her CPR. He looks so he's giving her CPR. He's calling, saying, "More Grace, please, please, please." And it gets to a point where I think he just lost hope, and he just stopped, and he just held her hand, and he was just begging her to come back. I'm pretty sure he even said he loved her, but I might have heard that wrong. But I genuinely thought Grace was dead. I went into this episode expecting Grace to die. I was hoping Grace wasn't gonna die, but just because of Morgan. I just want Morgan to have any bit of happiness there. Morgan is my second favorite Walking Dead universe character, right after Rick Grimes. So I wanted Morgan just to have a bit of happiness. And then Grace wakes up, and she does seem quite insane to Morgan. She starts talking about how she's a daughter, how she saw the future, how she's going to die, and the daughter is going to bring peace to everybody. And then, of course, out of nowhere, a truck comes ramming into the side of the building, pulls out the gun, points it straight at Morgan, threatening to shoot him if he doesn't give the key. Morgan's obviously not giving up the key. And then he points it at Grace, leading to Grace realizing that the daughter said the key was about it resembled peace. I think the daughter said. Grace literally screams at Morgan just to give him the goddamn key, because that's not the symbol of peace. This baby is the symbol of peace. And throughout the episode, we knew that Grace died. That's how we knew. That's one of the reasons why I was quite confident that Grace was going to die in this episode, was because we found out she died in childbirth, and I was kind of expecting it because like radiation as well. She's going to be born. Obviously, we knew she wasn't going to have a doctor there. I think there was just so much leaning towards the fact that she was going to die in childbirth. But after that, the guy's the key. We go into Bert, and the way the Bert scene was shot was quite weird. There was a song called "In Dreams," which made sense. It's the episode title, but it was very loud, and I just don't think it really worked with the birthing scene. But anyways, the birthing scene, everything goes through. The way it was shot as well, it kept jumping back and forth between Morgan and Grace. I just different angles. I wasn't really a fan of the way the birthing scene was shot. But then after it's Morgan takes the baby, he immediately turns around the baby. At first, I thought, okay, he's probably wrapping her up in a blanket, but then I realized there was no noise, and then Grace took off her headphones and she heard no crying, and I thought maybe we couldn't hear crying because we were hearing the music. But then Grace commented on there's no crying, and then I realized, oh shit, she had a stillbirth. And this was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. This is not something I ever expected to see in the Walking Dead universe. 2 weeks ago with the Daniel storyline, where they were kind of slowly going down the dementia storyline. This is a storyline I never expected to see in The Walking Dead, and honestly, I never wanted to see in The Walking Dead. I always like to see something new in this universe, but this is just something I never wanted to see. You just see the two of them. She's just crying. She's just holding her baby, and Morgan's he's lost for words. He wants to say something to comfort her, but he doesn't know what to say, because what do you say in that moment? And it was an honestly heartbreaking thing to see. I was expecting it to be Grace to die, and then Morgan was going to have to raise his child. Or I don't know. I was never expecting to see a stillbirth, and it was honestly, there's no other word to describe the scene but heartbreaking. Seeing the emotion in the two of their faces, especially Grace. Grace just looked absolutely devastated. She even said that we we expected it to be her. She expected it to be her, but of course it was her daughter. I imagine now, because Morgan has said a few times now that we need a name for their community, I imagine the name of the community is going to be the daughter's name, which I'm blanking on the daughter's name. But honestly, I was honestly heartbroken throughout this episode. Well, the ending, anyways. I was just honestly, I was lost for words. My jaw dropped when she wasn't crying, and it didn't stop. My jaw didn't up. I didn't pick it up off the floor until the end of the episode. I think the episode as a whole, I really enjoyed it, but the last 5 minutes were they were something else, and that was something that was it's beautiful storytelling, but it's also heartbreaking storytelling, and I was just floored with how amazing this episode was, especially in that last 5-10 minutes. I liked the whole dream sequence. I loved the way it was shot. It was beautiful colors, looked absolutely stunning. But honestly, I can't get over that last 5 minutes. Absolutely heartbreaking. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Morgan and Grace's relationship. Is this going to bring them closer together? Is it going to bring them further apart? I imagine she's going to shut herself off for a while. She's going to be wondering when the baby died. Was it the explosion? Was it the truck? We don't know. She'll never know what caused the baby to die. And it's going to be... obviously it's going to be something that she's going to carry for the rest of her life. But I do wonder what it's going to do moving forward for not only those two who are actually there in the situation, but for the community, knowing that there was a child who died. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen moving forward with Fear the Walking Dead. I feel like I'm saying that at the end of every review. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens moving forward with Fear the Walking Dead, and it's honestly, they're doing an absolutely phenomenal job. I'm not going to watch a trailer for episode 13. There is none out anyways, because we're not going to see one until Sunday when the episode actually drops. So if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 13, click on the subscribe button and come back next week and see my full in-depth review on episode 13. I imagine it's going to be picking up with the quest to go and save Alicia, because she's been out there a while now. It's been 2 episodes now. We got to go back and save Alicia. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that next week, click on the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching.